Police dog barks at Suitcase at airport. What officers found inside stuns everyone. The fluorescent lights of Terminal C hummed overhead, casting sterile brightness across the polished floors where thousands of travelers moved in their morning rhythms. Gate 47 buzzed with the usual symphony of rolling luggage wheels, boarding announcements, and farewell conversations. But in the center of this ordinary chaos, something extraordinary was unfolding. Rex, a 5-year-old German shepherd with copper-tinted fur and eyes like polished amber, stood frozen. His entire body had gone rigid. His ears pitched forward. His nose quivered. And then came the bark. Not the casual alert of routine detection work. Not the controlled signal his handler expected during standard screening procedures. This was different. Primal. Desperate. The bark tore through the terminal like a crack of thunder. Passengers stopped mid-stride. Conversations died. Even the overhead announcements seemed to pause. Rex barked again. And again. His powerful legs planted firm against the tile, his focus locked with terrifying intensity on a single navy blue suitcase resting near Gate 47's waiting area. Officer Sarah Mitchell felt her stomach drop. In 7 years of working alongside detection dogs at Denver International Airport, she had never seen Rex behave this way. His training demanded restraint, precision. This was neither. Rex, he'll... Her command came sharp, professional, but underneath ran a thread of genuine alarm. The dog ignored her completely. Something humans couldn't see, couldn't smell, couldn't sense had captured every ounce of his legendary focus. His barking intensified. Frantic, urgent. Near the suitcase, a little girl clutched a stuffed rabbit. She couldn't be more than 6 years old, with dark curls framing a cherub face and eyes wide with innocent curiosity. She watched Rex with the fascination only children possess when animals do unexpected things. "Mommy, why is the doggy so upset?" Her voice carried that pure, unfiltered concern that made every adult within earshot turn toward the scene. Her mother, distracted by her phone and boarding documents, glanced up absently. "It's fine, sweetie. Just stay close." But Sarah Mitchell knew it wasn't fine. Rex had detected explosives in luggage before. Narcotics hidden in clever compartments. Prohibited weapons wrapped in clothing. Each time, his alert had been textbook perfect. Controlled. A sit-and-stare signal that indicated danger without creating panic. This was panic. His panic. And that terrified her more than any threat assessment could. Airport security converged. Officer Marcus Chin appeared at Sarah's right, his hand instinctively moving toward his radio. Behind them, Supervisor Linda Hayes approached with the measured calm of 23 years in federal security. But even her experienced eyes showed concern. "What's his deal?" Marcus kept his voice low, professional training overriding the adrenaline beginning to flood his system. "I don't know." Sarah's admission felt like failure. He won't respond. Won't break focus. Something about that suitcase. Rex lunged forward. Sarah's grip on his lead tightened, her shoulder wrenching as she held him back. The dog's nails scraped against polished floor, searching for traction, every muscle in his athletic frame straining toward that navy blue case. The little girl with the stuffed rabbit took a step closer to the suitcase. Her mother still wasn't watching. "Ma'am!" Sarah's voice cut sharp across the gate area. "Ma'am, please keep your daughter back." Now, people were really staring. The ambient noise of the terminal shifted. Conversation stopped. Boarding slowed. That collective held breath that precedes something terrible. The suitcase sat there. Ordinary. Unremarkable. Navy blue with silver trim. A yellow luggage tag dangled from its handle. It looked like 10,000 other bags that passed through this airport every single day. But Rex saw something else. Smelled something else. Knew something else. His barking reached a crescendo, raw, almost anguished, and in that moment, Officer Sarah Mitchell made a decision that would change everything. "Linda, evacuate Gate 47. Now!" "Before we continue, we want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? What brings you to stories about these incredible hero dogs? Drop a comment below and join our global community of dog lovers and believers in everyday courage. 3 hours earlier, the morning had started like any other in Sarah Mitchell's world. Her alarm buzzed at 4:30 a.m., dragging her from dreams into the pre-dawn darkness of her small Denver apartment. She moved through her routine with practiced efficiency. Coffee, shower, uniform pressed crisp and clean. The silver badge on her chest caught lamplight as she pinned it in place, the weight of it familiar and grounding. By 5:15, she was driving through empty streets toward the airport, the city still sleeping around her. The radio played soft jazz. Street lights created pools of gold against a fading night. Everything felt ordinary, safe, predictable. She had no way of knowing that before this day ended, she would make a choice that would ripple across the globe. Denver International Airport sprawled across 53 square miles of Colorado Plains, a modern marvel of glass and dramatic peaked roofs designed to echo the Rocky Mountains visible in the distance. Even at this early hour, it hummed with life. Red-eye arrivals, early morning departures, the perpetual motion of a world that never truly sleeps. Sarah parked in the employee lot, grabbed her gear bag, and headed toward the K-9 unit's staging area in the security sector. The facility smelled of coffee, cleaning solution, and that indefinable scent of controlled chaos that defined airport operations. Rex waited in his kennel, already alert. The moment he saw Sarah approach, his tail began its powerful metronome swing. Joy radiated from every line of his body. To the casual observer, he looked like any beloved pet greeting their human. But Rex was far more than that. German Shepherds have been the backbone of detection work for decades, and Rex represented the finest of his breed's working line. His bloodline traced back to championship dogs in Germany and the Czech Republic. His nose could detect scents in concentrations as low as 1 part per trillion. His intelligence bordered on uncanny. His loyalty was absolute. But more than any of that, Rex possessed something Sarah could never quite articulate in reports or training evaluations. Intuition, an almost supernatural awareness that transcended his already remarkable abilities. Morning, partner. Sarah opened his kennel, and Rex bounded out with enthusiasm tempered by discipline. His morning greeting involved a quick circle around her legs, a soft whine of happiness, and then immediate attention. Ready to work, born to serve. They ran through their morning routine. Physical check, equipment inspection, brief patrol of the terminal's back corridors to let Rex stretch his legs and process the building's overnight scent landscape. Then breakfast, measured and timed according to his dietary needs. Officer Marcus arrived at 6, his perpetually optimistic demeanor somehow intact despite the inhuman hour. Big day for the dynamic duo. Terminal C is going to be chaos. Spring break traffic is starting early this year. Sarah nodded, checking Rex's vest one final time. The vest served multiple purposes. It protected him. It identified him as a working federal dog. And perhaps most importantly, it served as a psychological switch. The moment she fastened those straps, Rex transformed from pet to professional. How's our best boy today? Marcus scratched behind Rex's ears with the familiarity of someone who'd worked alongside them for 3 years. Focused. Ready. Sarah watched her partner with the mix of pride and protectiveness that came from years of literal life-or-death collaboration. Aren't you, Rex? The dog's amber eyes fixed on hers. That connection. That bond. People who'd never worked with dogs at this level couldn't understand it. The trust. The communication that happened in glances and body language. The absolute certainty that this animal would walk through fire if she asked. Let's go to work. Terminal C opened to passengers at 6:30. By 7, the first waves of travelers began flowing through security checkpoints. Families heading to spring break destinations. Business travelers catching early meetings. College students returning to campuses. Retirees beginning long-planned vacations. Sarah and Rex took their position near the main checkpoint. Their job today focused on random secondary screening. When something pinged concerns at the X-ray machines or when passengers displayed behavioral indicators worth investigating, Sarah and Rex provided the next layer of security. It was repetitive work, mostly boring. The vast majority of flags turned out to be nothing. Forgotten pocket knives, overlooked toiletries, innocent mistakes by people who flew once a year and didn't know regulations. but the boring nature of the work made it dangerous in its own way. Complacency killed vigilance, and vigilance was the only thing standing between routine and catastrophe. By 8:30, they'd screened 24 bags. All clear, Rex performed flawlessly, his nose investigating each item with systematic thoroughness before giving Sarah his clear signal, a small but definitive shift in his posture that meant they could move on. At 8:45, Supervisor Linda Hayes called them for a brief rotation break. Standard protocol. Dogs needed regular rest to keep their senses sharp. Sarah and Rex headed to the K9 rest area, a small room with water bowls, rest mats, and climate control. "You're doing great, buddy." Sarah ran her hands through his thick coat, checking for any signs of stress or fatigue. But Rex seemed fine, alert, engaged. His tail wagged gently as she gave him water and a few minutes to decompress. Through the room's small window, Sarah watched the terminal. Travelers moved in predictable patterns. Lines formed and dissolved. Overhead monitors displayed departure times in amber letters. Everything looked normal. She checked her watch. 9:05. Their next patrol would focus on Gate Concourse C, the mid-terminal gates serving regional and some international flights. Routine sweep. Random presence. The visible deterrent of a detection dog often prevented problems before they began. At 9:15, Sarah and Rex entered Terminal C's main concourse. The little girl with the stuffed rabbit was already there, though Sarah wouldn't notice her for another 28 minutes. The navy blue Suitcase sat near Gate 47 seating area, though it remained invisible in a landscape of 1,000 similar bags, until Rex made it impossible to ignore. And somewhere in this building, hidden among the thousands of faces and voices and purposes, someone moved with terrible intent toward a plan set in motion weeks before. But for now, at 9:15 on a Tuesday morning that felt like every other Tuesday morning, Officer Sarah Mitchell and her partner Rex walked to the concourse with no idea that their ordinary day was about to shatter into something that would test every ounce of their training, trust, and courage. Rex's tail swayed gently as they walked. His nose processed 10,000 scents simultaneously, cataloging and analyzing in ways human brains could never match. Cinnamon from a coffee shop, jet fuel from the tarmac, perfume and cologne from passing travelers, cleaning solution, leather, plastic, metal, the overwhelming sensory symphony of a modern airport. And somewhere in that symphony, buried beneath layers of other stimuli, something wrong, something dangerous, something that would, in exactly 28 minutes, cause a highly trained federal detection dog to abandon every principle of his careful discipline and sound an alarm that would bring Terminal C to a standstill. The first sweep of Gate Concourse, C revealed nothing unusual. Sarah and Rex moved methodically through the space, their presence acknowledged by the usual mix of reactions. Children pointed with delight. Adults smiled or nodded respectfully. A few nervous travelers watched with slightly elevated concern, the kind of reaction that came from guilty consciences about minor infractions rather than real threats. Gate 47 served a regional carrier with flights to smaller cities across the Mountain West: Boise, Albuquerque, Salt Lake City. The morning scheduled departure to Rapid City. South Dakota showed on time at 10:15. About 40 passengers clustered in the seating area, a typical Tuesday morning crowd. Sarah made mental notes out of long habit. A businessman in an expensive suit typing aggressively on his laptop. A young couple holding hands, probably heading somewhere romantic. 3 college-age kids arguing about who had the phone charger. An elderly woman reading a paperback mystery novel. A family of 4 trying to keep 2 energetic boys entertained. And near the windows, a mother in her mid-30s with dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, focused intently on her phone while her young daughter played quietly nearby. The little girl wore a pink jacket with white butterflies embroidered on the sleeves. Her dark curls bounced as she moved. The stuffed rabbit in her arms looked well-loved, one ear slightly tattered. The kind of companion that had weathered years of devotion. She hummed softly to herself, lost in that magical world of childhood imagination, where airports were adventures and waiting was just another game to play. Sarah smiled despite herself. Something about children in airports always touched her. That innocence, That excitement about going somewhere new, the absolute trust they place in adults to keep them safe, keeping them safe, that was the job. The only job that mattered. Rex continued his systematic sweep, nose working, eyes alert. Nothing triggered his concern. Everything fell within normal parameters. At 9:35, they completed their first pass through the gate concourse and reported clear to Linda Hayes via radio. Copy that. Continue standard patrol pattern. We've got increased passenger volume throughout Terminal C this morning. Stay visible. 10-4. Sarah and Rex began their second sweep, this time walking the concourse's opposite side. More gates. More passengers. More the same routine that defined 99% of their work. At 9:40, Rex paused near a trash receptacle. His nose investigated a discarded coffee cup with the intensity that made him exceptional at his job. False alarm. Just spilled latte. He glanced at Sarah, received her signal to continue, and moved on. At 9:42, they passed gate 45. A family was saying emotional goodbyes. The father hugged his teenage daughter with the fierce intensity of parents watching their children leave for college or deployment, or some other separation that felt like losing part of themselves. Sarah understood that emotion. Her own father had held her exactly that way when she'd left for the police academy a lifetime ago. At 9:43, they reached gate 47 again. This is where the morning changed. Later, investigators and behavioral specialists would analyze what happened next frame by frame, trying to identify the exact moment Rex detected the threat. Security footage would be reviewed hundreds of times. Experts would debate the specifics. But Sarah didn't need footage or analysis. She felt it through the lead, connecting them. Rex stopped. His entire body shifted into a posture she recognized instantly. Alert, focused. Something had captured his legendary nose's attention. His head swung slowly left, processing. His nostrils flared. That incredible olfactory system, capable of detecting trace amounts of substances humans couldn't perceive with any technology, had found something. Rex, what do you have? The dog moved forward with purpose now, toward gate 47 seating area. His gait remained controlled, professional, but underneath Sarah sensed the intensity building. The navy blue suitcase sat approximately 15 feet from the gate's desk area, positioned between two sets of chairs. It rested upright on its wheels, handle extended, looking for all the world like someone had simply set it down for a moment while they used a restroom or grabbed coffee. Nothing about it screamed danger. No visible wires. No chemical stains. No odd bulges or suspicious markings. Just a completely ordinary piece of luggage that could belong to anyone. But Rex approached it with the focus of a predator closing on prey. Sarah's training kicked in. She began her assessment. Was the bag unattended? How long had it been here? Were there any owners in the immediate vicinity? Rex reached the suitcase. His nose moved systematically over its surface. Top, sides, zipper lines, handle. His breathing quickened slightly. And then he sat. The formal alert. The signal they drilled 10,000 times. The indicator that meant, this bag contains something I'm trained to detect. Sarah's pulse quickened. Good boy, Rex. She keyed her radio. Mitchell to Hayes. I have a positive alert on unattended bag. Gate 47, Terminal C. Linda Hayes' voice came back immediately. All business. Copy. Location. Seating area, northwest side. Navy blue hard side roller bag. Stand by. Initiating protocol. Sarah knew the drill. Within minutes, additional officers would arrive. They'd establish a perimeter. They'd attempt to identify the bag's owner through gate records and announcements. If no owner came forward, if the situation escalated, they'd call on the bomb technicians. But that was standard for unattended luggage alerts. Happened a couple times a week. Usually resolved quickly when a forgetful traveler came running back, apologetic and embarrassed. Rex should have maintained his sit alert. That was protocol. That was training. That was his job. Instead, he stood, his ears pinched forward, his tail dropped to neutral, and his eyes locked onto that suitcase with an intensity that made Sarah's stomach flip. Rex, easy. Hold your... The bark erupted from him like it had been ripped from his chest. Not the controlled vocalization of a working dog. Something raw. Desperate. Passengers near gate 47 jumped. The businessman with the laptop looked up, startled. The young couple stopped their conversation. The elderly woman clutched her mystery novel, and the little girl with the stuffed rabbit turned toward Rex with wide, curious eyes. "Mommy." The doggy seems really worried. Sarah moved on instinct. "Ma'am, please move your daughter back from that bag." The mother finally looked up from her phone, confusion crossing her features. "What? Why?" Rex barked again. Louder. More urgent. Other passengers began moving away from the bag now, that herd instinct kicking in. If a police dog was that agitated, something was wrong. Very wrong. Marcus Chin arrived at a run, his radio already in hand. "What's going on?" "I don't know." He alerted on the bag, but his behavior, Sarah's professional composure cracked slightly. "Marcus, I've never seen him like this." Rex lunged forward against his lead. The leather creaked. Sarah's shoulder jerked as she held him back. The dog's nails scraped against tile, seeking purchase. Every muscle in his body strained. He barked and barked and barked. The little girl took a step toward the suitcase. Just one small step. Her child's curiosity drawn by the beautiful chaos of a dog who'd lost all control. "Ma'am." Sarah's voice came out sharper than intended. "Please, keep your daughter back." Now the entire gate area had fallen into that terrible suspended silence where everyone knows something is catastrophically wrong, but nobody yet knows what. The suitcase sat there, silent, still, giving no indication of the danger it supposedly contained. But Rex knew. Somehow, impossibly, Rex knew something that technology and training and human senses couldn't detect. Linda Hayes pushed through the gathering crowd, her supervisor's authority parting passengers like water. She took in the scene instantly. The agitated dog, the unattended bag, the little girl now clutching her mother's leg, but still staring at Rex with that heartbreaking childhood innocence. Linda's 23 years of experience made the decision before conscious thought could second-guess it. Evacuate Gate 47. Everyone calmly but quickly moved to Gate 45. This is a precautionary measure. Please leave your belongings and move now. The announcement system crackled to life overhead. Attention passengers at Gate 47. Please proceed immediately to Gate 45. This is a security precaution. Do not take your belongings. Move quickly and calmly. People moved. Some grabbed for bags anyway. Others froze in confusion. Parents scooped up children. The elderly woman needed help standing, and Marcus immediately moved to assist her. But through it all, Rex never stopped barking. Never took his eyes off that navy blue suitcase. Never released the terrible certainty that something inside demanded his absolute attention. The mother with the little girl hesitated, still not quite processing the urgency. Her daughter clung to the stuffed rabbit, looking between the barking dog and her mother's face with dawning fear. "Ma'am, you need to move. Now." Sarah kept her voice firm, but kind. "Take your daughter and go to Gate 45. But our flight will be delayed. Your safety is more important. Please." Finally, the mother's survival instinct overrode confusion. She picked up her daughter, who immediately began to cry, overwhelmed by the sudden chaos and the loud barking and the fear radiating from every adult around her. "My bunny!" The little girl's voice broke with that particular anguish only children feel for their beloved toys. "Mommy, my bunny!" In her mother's arms, she dropped the stuffed rabbit. It lay on the floor between them and the navy blue suitcase. Just a toy, just fabric and stuffing. But to that little girl, it was everything. The mother looked back, torn between maternal comfort and clear danger. "Leave it." Linda Hayes' command cut through the moment. "Ma'am, keep moving." The little girl sobbed as her mother carried her away, her small hand reaching back toward that abandoned rabbit with a desperate longing of innocence that couldn't comprehend why her most precious possession had to be left behind. Within 90 seconds, Gate 47 stood empty. Passengers clustered at Gate 45, some filming on phones, others calling loved ones, many just staring with the horrified fascination people have for unfolding disasters. Sarah, Marcus, and Linda remained at the edge of the secure perimeter Linda had quickly established with portable barriers from a nearby storage closet. And Rex remained focused on that suitcase with unwavering intensity, his barking reduced now to low, continuous growls that somehow felt even more ominous than his earlier panic. Bomb squad's been called. Marcus's usually cheerful voice had gone flat. Professional. ETA 8 minutes. 8 minutes. An eternity. An instant. Sarah stared at the navy blue suitcase, sitting alone in the empty gate area. The little girl's stuffed rabbit lay beside it like some kind of heartbreaking prop, in a scene designed to maximize emotional impact. What's in there? Marcus voiced the question they all thought. What the hell is in there that's got him so worked up? Sarah had no answer. Her hand rested on Rex's head, feeling the tension vibrating through every inch of his powerful frame. She'd worked beside this dog for 5 years, trusted him with her life, watched him perform flawlessly in training and real-world situations. But she'd never seen this, never experienced this level of desperate alarm. Linda Hayes pulled out her radio. Hayes to operations. I need passenger manifest for all departing flights from Terminal C in the next 2 hours. I need security footage for Gate 47 covering the last 45 minutes. And I need K-9 backup units here now. Copy that. Footage is being pulled. Manifests coming through now. Additional K-9 units dispatched. The terminal speakers crackled again. Attention Terminal C passengers. Due to security situation, gates 45 through 50 are currently closed. Please check departure monitors for gate reassignments and updates. We apologize for this inconvenience and appreciate your cooperation. Sarah watched people's reactions. Most showed varying degrees of annoyance and concern, but a few stood out. A man in a gray jacket near gate 48 had gone pale. A woman by the coffee stand kept glancing toward the exits. A teenager near the restrooms seemed frozen in place. Behavioral indicators? Or just a natural range of how people responded to disruption and fear. What if he's wrong? Marcus spoke quietly, meant only for Sarah's ears. What if there's nothing dangerous in that bag, and we just cause a massive scene over nothing? Sarah understood the question. False positives happened. Dogs were incredible but not infallible. If that suitcase turned out to contain only clothes and toiletries, if Rex had somehow misread a scent signature or reacted to something benign, the fallout would be significant. Second-guessing, report writing, potential retraining protocols, media scrutiny. But looking at her partner now, Sarah knew in her bones that wasn't what was happening here. Rex wasn't wrong. He was desperate, and that desperation came from detecting something terrible. He's not wrong, she said quietly. I don't know what's in there, but he's not wrong. 6 minutes until the bomb squad arrived. The navy blue suitcase sat silent in the empty gate area, keeping its secrets. And somewhere in the growing crowd of diverted passengers and curious onlookers, someone watched the scene unfold with calculations that had nothing to do with safety and everything to do with escape. The bomb squad arrived in exactly 7 minutes and 40 seconds. For technicians in protective gear, moving with practice efficiency, their equipment cases rolling behind them like some kind of specialized medical team responding to a trauma call, which, Sarah supposed, wasn't far from the truth. Lead technician Robert Thornton, a soft-spoken man in his 50s with 26 years of explosive ordnance experience, approached the command position Linda Hayes had established near Gate 46. Talk to me? His voice carried the calm of someone who defused live explosives in war zones. Airport scares rarely rattled him. Linda briefed him quickly. Unattended bag. Positive K-9 alert. Unusual dog behavior suggesting elevated threat. No identified owner yet. Gate area evacuated. Robert listened, asked 3 clarifying questions, then nodded. We'll do preliminary assessment first. X-ray scan from safe distance. Then decide on next steps. He turned towards Sarah and Rex, who still maintained his vigilant position, eyes locked on that suitcase. That's Rex, right? I've heard about him. Supposed to be one of the best. He is the best, Sarah corrected. And whatever's in that bag has him more worried than I've ever seen. Robert's expression shifted slightly. People who work with detection dogs understood that dogs didn't panic without cause. Okay, that changes our approach. We'll treat this as high-probability threat. The bomb squad deployed their portable X-ray scanner, a sophisticated piece of equipment worth more than most cars. They positioned it 40 feet from the suitcase, using the gate's desk area as cover. Sarah, Marcus, Linda, and Rex retreated to the secure perimeter behind additional barriers. Other airport security and TSA personnel had established crowd control, keeping curious passengers well back. The X-ray operator worked the controls. Somewhere in that technology, radiation penetrated the suitcase's shell, creating images of its contents that would help determine next steps. Sarah watched the technician's body language, looking for tells, any indication of what they were seeing. The X-ray operator said something to Robert, who leaned in to study the monitor. His posture stiffened slightly, just slightly, but Sarah had spent years reading micro-expressions and body language. That stiffness meant something bad. Robert spoke into his radio, voice too low for Sarah to hear from this distance. Another technician moved to study the monitor, then another. They were conferring, disagreeing, confirming, impossible to tell. Rex whined softly. Not fear, frustration. He'd done his job. He'd alerted. Why weren't the humans acting faster? Easy, buddy. They're working on it. Minutes crawled past. The terminal's normal bustle had been replaced by tense quiet. Flights were being rerouted. Passengers diverted to other gates. The ripple effects of this single suitcase spread to the airport's entire operation. Robert Thornton finally approached their position. His expression remained professionally neutral, but Sarah saw the calculation in his eyes, the careful weighing of information and risk. We have a situation, he began, and Sarah's stomach dropped. The X-ray shows contents consistent with electronic devices, multiple devices, wiring, dense material that could be organic compounds. The configuration, he paused. It's concerning. Concerning how? Linda's supervisor voice demanded clarity. Concerning in that it matches profiles we've seen in IEDs, improvised explosive devices. The good news is we're seeing no obvious timer or trigger mechanism visible from the X-ray. The bad news is that doesn't mean there isn't one. Marcus went pale. You're telling me that's actually a bomb? I'm telling you we need to treat it as one until we can confirm otherwise, which means we need to clear a larger radius and bring in specialized equipment to safely open and assess that bag. Linda was already moving, her radio up, her commands crisp and clear. All stations, expand evacuation perimeter to 200 feet from Gate 47. All Terminal C flights grounded until further notice. Give me Airport Operations Director and Denver PD. Chaos erupted in controlled fashion. Security personnel moved with urgent purpose. Passengers who'd been merely inconvenienced began to understand this was serious. The crowd swelled as people were pushed back further, their annoyance giving way to real fear. News crews would arrive within minutes. Social media was probably already exploding with speculation and cell phone footage. The story was breaking in real time. But Sarah's focus remained on that navy blue suitcase, sitting alone in its expanding circle of cleared space, and on Rex, whose initial panic had settled into intense, unwavering focus. If it is a bomb, Marcus spoke quietly, who was supposed to carry it? Who checked that bag? It was the question that mattered most. Someone had brought an explosive device into a secure airport. Someone had planned to either detonate it here or transport it somewhere else. Someone had walked through these halls with intent to harm. Footage review is ongoing, Linda reported, her phone pressed to her ear. They're tracking all passengers who came through this gate area in the last hour, trying to identify who handled that specific bag. Robert Thornton and his team continued their preparation. They'd bring in their remote-operated robot to approach the bag. They'd use additional scanning technology. They'd eventually, carefully, attempt to render the device safe if it was indeed explosive. The process could take hours. Airport operations would be paralyzed. Thousands of travelers disrupted. Millions of dollars in delays and diversions. And through it all, one question kept circling in Sarah's mind. Rex had detected this threat from a distance, among thousands of other scents, despite the bag being closed, despite whatever concealment methods had been used. How? What exactly had his remarkable nose found that tipped him to the danger? Sarah. Linda Hayes approached with her phone still active. Operations is pulling gate records. That flight to Rapid City was supposed to board in 20 minutes. 42 passengers checked in. They're comparing passenger lists now against security footage. What about the bag itself? Any identification tags? Yellow tag shows a name. William Henderson. Rapid City resident. Traveling alone. But what? Linda's expression darkened. Facial recognition software flagged something. The man who checked in as William Henderson? His face matches a person of interest in 3 different states. Identity theft cases, fraud, and one assault charge that was dropped due to insufficient evidence. The pieces were beginning to form a picture. Not complete, not clear, but emerging from the fog. A fake identity. A bomb disguised as ordinary luggage. A plan to either destroy part of this airport or transport explosives somewhere else. And an empty gate area that, 20 minutes earlier, had been full of innocent people, including a little girl with a stuffed rabbit who just wanted to go on vacation with her mother. Rex shifted position slightly, drawing Sarah's attention back to him. He'd relaxed marginally now that the bomb squad was here. Now that proper action was being taken. But his eyes still tracked that suitcase with absolute vigilance. "You saved them," Sarah murmured, running her hand through his thick coat. "All those people, that little girl. You saved them, buddy." The dog's tail wagged once. Brief, acknowledging, but his focus never wavered. "Mitchell." Robert Thornton called to her from his position behind protective barriers. "I need you and your partner to clear back further. We're about to deploy the robot for a closer examination." Sarah began retreating to the expanded perimeter, Rex at her side. But before they had taken 5 steps, Rex stopped. His entire body went rigid again. His head swung toward the crowd of displaced passengers. And he barked, that same desperate, urgent bark from before. "Rex, what?" The dog lunged. Not toward the suitcase this time. Toward the crowd. His focus locked on a figure Sarah couldn't immediately identify in the mass of people. "Rex, no. Heel." But the dog was beyond commands now. Some instinct deeper than training had taken over. He pulled with all his considerable strength, dragging Sarah forward despite her best efforts to control him. The crowd parted in confusion and alarm as a 100-pound German shepherd barreled toward them. And suddenly Sarah saw what Rex had seen, or smelled, or sensed. A man in a gray jacket, mid-30s, unremarkable features. The same man who'd gone pale when the evacuation started. He stood near the edge of the crowd, positioned by an emergency exit that led to the parking structure. The man saw Rex coming. His eyes went wide, and he ran. Suspect fleeing, gray jacket, heading toward East emergency exit. Sarah's training took over even as Rex dragged her into a full sprint. "All units, we have a runner." The man hit the emergency exit door, setting off alarms that added to the chaos. He disappeared into the concrete stairwell leading down to parking levels. Rex and Sarah burst through the door seconds later. Marcus's footsteps pounded behind them. More security coming. The stairwell echoed with running feet below them. The man was taking stairs 2 and 3 at a time, desperate for escape. Rex's nails clicked and scraped on concrete. His breathing came in powerful draws. Every ounce of his athletic conditioning focused on pursuit. They rounded landing after landing. Down, down. The man stayed barely ahead, his panic giving him speed that training couldn't match. 3rd level, 2nd level, ground level. The man exploded to the ground floor exit, into the parking structure's dim light. Cars everywhere. A maze of concrete pillars and painted lines. He made a fatal mistake. He glanced back to see if they were still following. Rex closed the distance in 3 powerful bounds. The dog's training included apprehension techniques for exactly this scenario. Controlled aggression. Precise targeting. Rex hit the running man at the knees, using his body weight and momentum to bring him down. They went sprawling across pavement. The man screamed. Not pain. Terror. Federal security. Don't move. Don't move. Sarah was on them in seconds, her training kicking in with automatic precision. Hands behind your head. Do it now. The man complied, sobbing, his face pressed against concrete, while Rex maintained position, jaws near the man's shoulder, ready to engage if he tried anything. Marcus arrived with his service weapon drawn, taking covering position while Sarah secured the suspect in restraints. Who are you? Sarah's voice came hard and cold. What's your name? I wasn't. The man could barely speak through his panic. The bag? The navy blue suitcase at gate 47. That's yours, isn't it? I didn't know what was in it. I swear, I was just supposed to carry it. Just carry it to Rapid City. That's all. Sarah pulled him to his feet with more force than strictly necessary. Who gave you the bag? Who hired you? I don't know his real name. He contacted me online. Offered $5,000 just to fly to Rapid City with a bag. Said it was just some documents his company couldn't legally send through normal shipping. I needed the money. I didn't know. Marcus keyed his radio. We have one suspect in custody. Male, mid-30s, claiming to be a courier for the device. Says he doesn't know the principal. Linda Hayes' voice came back immediately. Secure him and return to command position. FBI has been notified and is en route. We need his full statement. Sarah looked down at Rex, who had released the suspect once restraint were applied and now sat panting slightly, his tongue lolling, looking immensely pleased with himself. Good boy. Such a good boy, Rex. The return to Terminal C command position took 20 minutes, complicated by growing law enforcement presence and media attention. The parking structure now hosted half a dozen additional police vehicles, 2 FBI sedans, and 3 news vans that had somehow gotten access. The suspect, who eventually identified himself as Thomas Crane, a 34-year-old from Denver with financial problems and questionable judgment, was turned over to FBI custody. His claims of ignorance about the bag's contents would be investigated, verified, or disproven, and ultimately prosecuted as appropriate. But the larger question remained. Who had recruited Thomas Crane? Who had built the explosive device? What was the intended target? By 2 o'clock that afternoon, the bomb squad had successfully rendered the device safe and transported it to a secure facility for detailed analysis. Initial examination confirmed it contained approximately 3 pounds of plastic explosive, a simple timer mechanism, and enough shrapnel to cause catastrophic damage within a 60-foot radius. If that bomb had detonated at Gate 47 during normal boarding operations, casualties would have been extensive. Dozens dead, scores injured, families destroyed. Lives ended before they'd barely begun, including a little girl with dark curls and a stuffed rabbit who just wanted to go on vacation with her mother. The timer had been set for 10:40 a.m., exactly 25 minutes after Rex had first alerted to the danger. Sarah learned this detail while sitting in a conference room being debriefed by FBI agents, airport security directors, and a representative from Homeland Security. The information hit her like a physical blow. 25 minutes. They'd had 25 minutes between Rex's alert and planned detonation. If she'd ignored his unusual behavior, if she'd assumed he was having an off day, if Linda Hayes had hesitated on the evacuation order, if any one of a dozen small decisions had gone differently, they'd be having a very different conversation right now, in a different room, surrounded by grief counselors and victim services coordinators, trying to notify families and answer the impossible questions that follow tragedy. Officer Mitchell, the FBI agent, a sharp-eyed woman named Diana Torres, pulled Sarah's attention back to the debrief. Your dog's behavior may have saved 30 to 40 lives today. That's preliminary estimate based on passenger counts and gate occupancy at the time of the alert. 30 to 40 lives. Numbers that didn't capture the reality. The children who'd wake up tomorrow still having parents. The parents who'd get to watch their children grow. The futures that would unfold instead of ending in violence and terror. Rex did his job. Sarah managed. He's trained to detect threats. That's what he did. No. Diana leaned forward slightly. Training explains the alert. Training doesn't explain the intensity, the persistence, the tracking of the courier who fled. This dog demonstrated something beyond standard detection protocol. Sarah thought about how to explain what she'd felt through that lead. The desperation in Rex's behavior. The absolute certainty that had transmitted from animal to human through nothing more than shared experience and mutual trust. He knew, she finally said. Somehow, he knew it wasn't just contraband or prohibited items. He knew it was dangerous, imminently dangerous. And he couldn't make us understand fast enough through normal signals, so he broke protocol to make us listen. The room fell quiet for a moment. Remarkable, Diana Torres said softly. Absolutely remarkable. The debrief continued for another hour. Details about Thomas Crane's recruitment, the online network that had connected him to the bomb builder, early leads on the actual terrorist, still at large but now the subject of multi-state manhunt. By 4 o'clock, Sarah and Rex were finally released from official questioning. Media requests had been flooding in. News coverage was global. Video footage of Rex barking at the suitcase had gone viral. Hashtags trended. The world wanted to know about the hero dog who'd stopped a terrorist attack. But Sarah wanted none of it. She wanted to take her partner somewhere quiet, somewhere they could both decompress from a day that had stretched nerves and training and instinct to absolute limits. They ended up in the K-9 unit's small outdoor exercise area, a fenced section of roof with artificial turf and afternoon sun. Rex lay sprawled in a patch of warmth, finally allowing himself to truly relax. Sarah sat beside him, her back against the fence, and let the day's accumulated tension begin to drain away. We did it, buddy. We really did it. Rex's tail thumped lazily against turf. His eyes had closed. His breathing deepened toward sleep. For the first time since this morning's 4:30 alarm, he looked like a regular dog enjoying regular rest. But he wasn't regular. He was exceptional. And today he'd proven it in ways that transcended training or breed standards or any measure Sarah could quantify in official reports. Her phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Media still wants interviews. Hayes is running interference. But they're not going away. Sarah sighed. She understood. The story was too good, too perfect, too aligned with humanity's desperate need for heroes in a world that often felt short on hope. Fine. They'd do the interviews. They'd tell Rex's story. Not for glory or attention, but because people needed to hear it, needed to know that good existed, that vigilance mattered, that sometimes, against overwhelming odds, the good guys won. But not today. Today belonged to rest and recovery and quiet gratitude. Sarah's hand rested on Rex's side, feeling the rise and fall of his breathing. Steady, strong, alive. Tomorrow would bring ceremony and recognition, medals and commendations, news coverage and social media fame. But today, in this moment, it was just an officer and her partner, sitting in afternoon sun, sharing profound but simple relief of survival. Thank you, Sarah whispered. Thank you for being smarter than protocol. Thank you for making us listen. Thank you for saving them. Rex's tail thumped once more against turf, and in that small gesture, Sarah heard all the replies she needed. The ceremony happened 3 weeks later. Denver International Airport's main terminal had been transformed into something between military formality and community celebration. Media crews lined the back wall. Local officials filled the front rows. Passengers and airport employees crowded the standing room areas, eager to witness recognition for heroism that had literally saved their lives or the lives of people they loved. Officer Sarah Mitchell stood in dress uniform, feeling uncharacteristically nervous. Beside her, Rex sat in perfect form, his service vest brushed to pristine condition, his amber eyes scanning the crowd with alert interest. The airport director approached the podium, a woman in her 60s with steel gray hair and the commanding presence of someone who'd spent decades managing crisis after crisis. 3 weeks ago, she began, this airport experienced a security incident that, through the heroic actions of our K-9 unit, ended not in tragedy, but in triumph. Today we honor Officer Sarah Mitchell and her partner Rex for their service. Applause rippled through the assembly. Sarah felt her cheeks warm. Officer Mitchell and Rex have worked together for 5 years. In that time, they've conducted thousands of screenings, detected numerous prohibited items, and maintained an exemplary service record. But on Tuesday, March 23rd, they exceeded every expectation. The director detailed the events, the alert, the evacuation, the bomb squad's findings, the arrest of Thomas Crane, and the ongoing investigation into bomb's origin. Each detail landed with weight, reminding everyone present how close this had come to catastrophe. Preliminary estimates suggest that Rex's early detection and persistence saved between 30 and 45 lives. He detected the threat with enough advance warning to evacuate the area and begin investigation before the device was scheduled to detonate. More applause. Louder now. People were standing. Sarah glanced down at Rex, who seemed utterly unbothered by the attention. To him, this was just another day in a building full of interesting smells and people who occasionally gave him affection. The hero worship meant nothing to him. The medals being prepared meant nothing. He'd done his job because it was his job, because Sarah had asked him to, because protecting people was what he was born to do. It is my profound honor, the director continued, to present Rex with a Medal of Valor for exceptional service, and to recognize Officer Mitchell for her outstanding leadership and partnership. They approached the podium together. A formal medal was placed around Rex's neck, dangling from a blue ribbon. Rex tolerated this with good-natured patience, more interested in the director's dog-friendly treats than any symbolic recognition. Sarah received her own commendation. Handshakes, photographs, the flash of countless cameras. But the moment that mattered most came afterward, when the formal ceremony broke up and people were invited to approach. The mother and daughter from Gate 47 had been given special seats in the front row. Sarah had met them during the investigation, brief encounters for witness statements. But this was different. The little girl, wearing her pink jacket with butterfly embroidery, approached Rex with the careful reverence children show toward things they find magical. Her mother held her hand, tears streaming freely down her face. "Can I pet him?" The little girl's voice came soft and shy. Sarah knelt down to the girl's level. Rex would love that. He's very gentle. Small hands reached out to touch soft fur. Rex, sensing the child's nervousness, remained perfectly still except for his tail's slow wag. The little girl's face transformed. Wonder, joy, the uncomplicated happiness of a child touching a dog. "Thank you," her mother said, the words breaking. "Thank you for saving her, for saving us." Sarah felt her own eyes sting. "Rex saved you. I just listened to him. You both saved us." The mother knelt now, too, wrapping her arms around her daughter while one hand extended toward Rex. "We're here. She's here. Because of you both." The little girl looked up at Sarah with those wide, innocent eyes. "The doggies saved my bunny, too." Sarah smiled despite the tears now tracking down her own cheeks. "He did. He saved your bunny." In truth, the stuffed rabbit had been collected as evidence and wouldn't be returned for several more weeks. But a replacement, identical down to the tattered ear, had been purchased by airport security staff and presented to the family 2 days after the incident. The little girl didn't know it wasn't her original rabbit, or maybe she didn't know and loved it just as fiercely anyway. Children had remarkable capacity for resilience and love. Other survivors approached. The businessman with the laptop, who'd almost been directly in the blast radius. The elderly woman with her mystery novel, who couldn't walk well but insisted on standing to shake Sarah's hand. The college kids. The young couple. Each one carrying stories of where they'd been going that day, what they'd been planning, who would have grieved him if Rex hadn't sounded his desperate alarm. Marcus should appear at Sarah's elbow during a brief lull. "You doing okay? This is a lot." "I'm good. Just processing." FBI update came through this morning. They've identified the bomb builder. International Terrorism Cell. Thomas Crane was genuinely just a desperate guy who made catastrophically bad choices. But the actual terrorists behind this were planning additional attacks. Rex didn't just save Gate 47. He exposed an entire network. Sarah absorbed this. The implications rippled outward in ways she couldn't fully track. How many other attacks had been prevented when that network was disrupted? How many other innocent people in other cities, at other airports, would never know how close they'd come to danger because of one detection dog's exceptional nose and unwillingness to be ignored? He's trending worldwide, you know. Marcus showed his phone. Social media feeds filled with Rex's image. Hashtag HeroK9Rex. Stories shared in dozens of languages. Children from around the world sending drawings of dogs to the airport. Donations flooding K9 training programs. He started something bigger than he knows, Sarah observed. Nah. Marcus grinned. He knows. Dogs always know when they've done something that matters. The ceremony eventually concluded. Media interviews were granted, carefully managed by airport public relations staff. Sarah kept her responses focused on Rex's training, the importance of K9 programs, the professionalism of all security personnel involved. By evening, exhausted by attention and ceremony, Sarah and Rex returned to the quiet of the K9 unit facilities. Just the two of them and the settling dark outside windows. Sarah sat on the floor of Rex's kennel area, something she rarely did, and the dog immediately sprawled across her lap, all 100 pounds of him seeking contact and comfort. You're famous now, buddy. You know that? People around the world know your name. Rex yawned, unimpressed with fame. But you don't care about that, do you? You do it again tomorrow. Alert on the next threat. Save the next person. Because that's who you are. The dog's amber eyes met hers. In them, Sarah saw everything that mattered. Loyalty, trust, purpose, the simple nobility of a life dedicated to service without ego or expectation of reward. I'm proud of you. So proud. Rex's tail thumped against floor, and Sarah understood, as she always had, that pride flowed both directions. He was proud to work with her, proud to serve, proud to be exactly what he was born to be. Outside, Denver's night wrapped around the airport. Planes still took off and landed. Travelers still rushed through terminals. The world continued its perpetual motion. But something had shifted, something small but significant. 30 to 45 people walked this earth who wouldn't have if not for one dog's exceptional instinct and refusal to be ignored. Families remained intact. Futures remained possible. Love continued where it might have ended. And somewhere, in homes and hotels in distant cities, people who'd never been at Gate 47 but heard the story felt a small restoration of faith. In heroes. In protection. In the possibility that good could triumph over evil with nothing more than vigilance, training, and the courage to act when action mattered most. Sarah stayed in that kennel for another hour, just sitting with her partner, processing the weight of everything that had happened and everything that could have happened but didn't. When she finally stood to leave, Rex remained sprawled where he was, content and peaceful. See you tomorrow, buddy. 4:30 comes early. Rex's tail thumped agreement. Tomorrow they'd return to work. More terminals, more screenings, more routine patrols through the endless flow of travelers. Because that was the job. And somewhere in those crowds, in that endless stream of humanity moving through these halls, another threat might be waiting. Another danger invisible to human senses, but clear as thunder to a detection dog's remarkable nose. And when that moment came, Rex would be ready, alert, focused, unwilling to let danger pass unnoticed or unchallenged. Sarah left the K9 facility and drove home through quiet streets, her car radio playing soft music, her mind finally beginning to release the tension of 3 weeks that felt like 3 years. At home, she collapsed into bed still wearing her uniform, too exhausted to care about proper protocol. Her phone buzzed one last time. A message from Linda Hayes. You both did good. Real good. Get some rest. World's going to want more of you tomorrow. Sarah smiled and set the phone aside. Tomorrow could wait. Tonight belonged to gratitude and rest and profound relief of knowing that sometimes, against all odds, the story ended not in tragedy but in triumph. Not because heroes wore capes or possessed superpowers, but because a well-trained dog loved his work, trusted his nose, and refused to let danger triumph while he had breath to bark and strength to act. 6 months passed in the way time does when life returns to routine after extraordinary events. Rex and Sarah continued their work at Denver International Airport. Daily patrols. Regular screenings. The vast majority of shifts passed without incident, exactly as they should in a secure airport. But something had changed. People recognized Rex now. Children asked their parents if they could pet the famous hero dog. Travelers took photos. News crews occasionally appeared for anniversary coverage or feature stories. Rex tolerated the attention with the same patient good nature he showed toward everything. Fame meant nothing to him. The work remained the work. The job remained the job. Sarah had been promoted. Her handling of the Gate 47 incident, combined with her years of exemplary service, earned her a supervisory position overseeing the entire K-9 program at Denver International. More responsibility, better pay, a desk that she rarely sat at because she preferred being in the terminal with Rex. Thomas Crane had been sentenced to 15 years in federal prison for his role in the plot, despite his cooperation with investigators. The actual bomb builder, a radicalized engineer with connections to international terrorist networks, had been captured in Arizona 2 months after the incident. His trial was pending. The network he'd been part of had been significantly disrupted, though law enforcement acknowledged that such threats never truly disappeared. They just adapted, evolved, found new methods and new recruits, which meant the work continued. Detection, prevention, the daily vigilance that kept most people safe most of the time. On a Tuesday morning in September, 6 months and 2 days after Gate 47, Sarah and Rex walked through Terminal C on their standard patrol route. Autumn light slanted through the terminal's massive windows. Travelers moved in familiar patterns. The world turned as it always had. They passed Gate 47. It looked identical to every other gate. New carpeting had been installed. You couldn't tell that anything significant had ever happened here. The physical space held no memory of the day. It almost became a tomb. But Sarah remembered. She remembered every detail. The navy blue suitcase. The little girl with the stuffed rabbit. Rex's desperate barking. The terrible weight of decisions made in moments with lives hanging in balance. Officer Mitchell? Sarah turned to find a young woman approaching. Mid-20s. Wearing casual travel clothes. A backpack slung over one shoulder. Yes. I just wanted to say thank you. I was here that day. Gate 47. I was heading to my sister's wedding in Rapid City. The young woman's eyes were bright with emotion. Rex's alert saved my life. I got married last month. I'm flying to my honeymoon now. None of that would have happened if you and Rex hadn't been so good at your jobs. Sarah felt the familiar sting of tears. I'm glad you're okay. I'm glad you got your wedding. Congratulations on the marriage. Can I? The young woman gestured toward Rex. Of course. The woman knelt and buried her face in Rex's fur for a long moment, whispering things Sarah couldn't hear and didn't need to. Thank yous. Gratitudes. The kinds of words people say to those who've saved them. Rex accepted this with his usual grace, tail wagging gently, eyes warm with the simple contentment of a dog receiving affection. The young woman stood, wiped her eyes, smiled brilliantly, and continued toward her gate and her honeymoon and her future that continued because of choices made 6 months ago. Sarah and Rex resumed their patrol. At Gate 47, Sarah paused for just a moment, remembering, honoring, acknowledging. Rex looked up at her, head tilted slightly in that questioning way dogs have. Just thinking, buddy. Just remembering. The dog's tail wagged. His amber eyes held understanding. Or maybe Sarah just projected understanding onto him because she needed to believe he knew what they'd prevented, knew what they'd saved, knew that their work mattered in ways both large and small. They continued walking, past gates and shops and restaurants, past travelers heading toward destinations they'd reach safely, past children who'd grow up and young couples who'd build lives and elderly travelers who'd make it home to families who loved them. All of it ordinary, all of it precious, all of it protected by networks of people and systems, and sometimes by one exceptional dog whose nose could detect danger in concentrations measured in parts per trillion, and whose heart refused to let that danger pass unchallenged. At the end of their shift, Sarah filled out routine reports, equipment checks, patrol notes, Nothing remarkable to record. Just another day in the endless work of keeping people safe. But in the comments section, she added a small note. Rex continues to demonstrate exceptional focus and dedication. Outstanding partner. Proud to serve alongside him. She saved the report and looked down at Rex, who'd sprawled under her desk in the small office space she rarely used. Ready to go home? The dog's tail thumped agreement. They walked through employee corridors toward the parking lot. Other security personnel called greetings. Everyone knew Rex now. Everyone wanted to acknowledge the legend who walked among them daily. Outside, autumn air carried the first hints of coming winter. The Colorado sky stretched infinite and blue above the airport's distinctive peaked roofs. Sarah loaded Rex into their vehicle. He immediately sprawled across the back seat, content and tired after a day's work. Before starting the engine, Sarah took a moment to just breathe, to acknowledge the weight and gift of another day completed. Another shift where nothing terrible happened because people like her and partners like Rex stood ready. Her phone buzzed. A reminder about next week's K9 training seminar, where she'd be presenting Rex's case as an example of exceptional detection work. The story would continue spreading, inspiring other handlers, improving training protocols, rippling outward in ways she'd never fully track. But that was future. Right now was just this moment, this sunset, this dog sleeping peacefully in the back seat, this ordinary ending to an ordinary day. Sarah started the engine and began the drive home. Soft music playing, her heart full of gratitude for work that mattered and a partner whose courage had proven that sometimes one dog's instinct could change everything. The highway stretched ahead. Other cars moved in familiar patterns. The world continued its ancient rhythms of work and rest, danger and safety, fear and hope. And somewhere in that world, people who'd never know how close they'd come to tragedy went about their lives, loved their families, pursued their dreams, existed in the ordinary grace of another day granted, all because a dog named Rex had barked when it mattered most and refused to be ignored when lives hung in the balance. That was the job. That was the calling. That was the extraordinary hidden inside the ordinary, waiting for moments when courage and training and instinct aligned to save the world one alert at a time. Sarah glanced in the rearview mirror at Rex, still sleeping peacefully. "Good boy," she whispered. Such a good boy. And in that whispered gratitude lived all the truth that mattered. Heroes didn't always wear uniforms or receive medals or appear in news coverage. Sometimes they had 4 legs and amber eyes and hearts that beat with simple, absolute dedication to protecting the innocent from the dangers they couldn't see coming. Sometimes the hero was a dog, and the world was better for it. The sun set over Denver, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. Another day ending, another night beginning. The eternal cycle continuing as it always had and always would. And tomorrow, Sarah and Rex would return to work, would patrol those terminals, would screen those bags, would stand ready for whatever came, because that was who they were. That was what they'd trained for. That was the promise they'd made to everyone who walked through those halls, trusting that someone, somewhere, was watching over them. That promise had been kept on a Tuesday in March. It would be kept again tomorrow, and every day after, as long as dogs like Rex existed. As long as handlers like Sarah served, as long as the work continued, the work would always continue. And so would hope. Thank you for joining us for Rex's incredible story. These K9 heroes serve every single day, often without recognition, keeping us safe in ways we never see. If this story moved you, please consider sharing it with someone who loves dogs or believes in the power of everyday courage. Where are you watching from? What spoke to you most about Rex's story? We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Until next time, remember, heroes walk among us, and sometimes they have 4 paws and hearts of pure gold. ***.